Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Aditya Dieva. I am student of English Education Department, State Islamic University of Alauddin, Makassar. So, this video, I made this video is discuss about discourse analysis, especially for three topics. First is the urgency of studying discourse analysis in English language teaching, discourse analysis and English language teaching, and the scope of discourse analysis. So I will discuss that topics. For the first topics, there are three things. What are the reasons for studying discourse analysis? What are the differences between discourse analysis and error analysis in terms of their genesis and focus? Next, for the second topics, there are three things that I will discuss. What are discourse and discourse analysis? What are teaching and English language teaching? And what is the relation between discourse analysis and English language teaching? For the last topics, the last topic, I will discuss what is spoken discourse, what are the differences between classroom and casual conversation, how to analyze the discourse, what things are found from the analysis, and what are the implication of the analysis results to teaching and learning speech delivery in English language teaching. And after that, I will make a conclusion from my explanation. So let's start my discussion, my explanation about the three topics that I said before with saying Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. For the first topics, the urgency of studying discourse analysis in English language teaching. So there are two questions in these topics. The number one is, what are the reasons for studying discourse analysis? Okay, well, so there are three perspectives why study discourse analysis between academic reasons, pragmatic reasons, and pedagogical reasons. The academic reason is that discourse analysis is closely related to linguistic, sociology, anthropology, psychology, philosophy, communication, and of course education. It is very useful for a student at a college or university, especially for students majoring in English, in gaining knowledge and understanding of the function of language in social life, as well as the role of language in the construction and formation of social relations. The pragmatic reasons. By conducting discourse analysis can provide us with information about the function of language and avoid the difficulty of producing sentences that are appropriate to the use of language and its context, which can lead to interaction, because to communicate effectively in a foreign language, one must have two types of knowledge, namely structural and also functional. Next, pedagogical reasons. By conducting discourse analysis can provide information about the use of language in communicative situation which inspire teachers and the practices they use as a reference source for formulating curriculum, designing syllabus, preparing teaching materials, and also determining language teaching methods. Next, the second question is, what are the differences between discourse analysis and error analysis in terms of their genesis and focus? Okay, error analysis is carried out within the scope of language teaching and learning, with the aim of assisting students in solving error problems to encourage increased use of their English. Error analysis is carried out solely to provide information to teachers about the forms of errors that are often made by students. This information is then considered as problem point for learners in learning a foreign language. Therefore, in addition to teaching the correct sentence structure, teachers are also required to prevent students from making mistakes when speaking. So, whenever an error is found, the teacher must immediately correct it. However, because it is considered to have many shortcomings because it does not place too much emphasis on teaching culture in language teaching and is considered to have a less broad scope to analyze. Meanwhile, in discourse analysis, because of the need for the form and function of information, socio-cultural aspect in language teaching, the background of research in discourse is as a pioneer in the emergence of discourse analysis as a discipline used to describe language in context. Yeah, I think that's all for the first topic. Let's move to the second topics. Okay, so this topic is talking about discourse analysis and English language teaching. Yeah, there are three questions in this topic. The first is, what are discourse and what are discourse analysis? Okay, for discourse, according to Edmondson 1981, says that discourse is a structural event manifested in linguistic behavior or others, whereas a text is an arrangement of structural linguistic expressions which forms a unity. According to Crystal 1992, states that discourse is a continuous stretch of especially spoken language that are larger than a sentence, often constituting a coherent unit, such as a sermon, argument, joke, or narrative. So, discourse refers to an approach commonly used to examine language in the use of its social context. Next, we move to discourse analysis. Yeah, according to Stoops 1983, discourse analysis refers to the attempts to study the organization of language above the sentence or above the clause, and therefore to study larger linguistic units such as conversational exchange or written text. According to Demo and Douglas, 2001, discourse analysis is the examination of language use by members of a speech community. It involves looking at both language form and language function, and includes the study of both spoken interaction and written text. It identifies linguistic features that characterize different genres, as well as social and cultural factors that aid in our interpretation and understanding of different texts and types of thought. So next, the second question: what are teaching and what are English language teaching? So to understand what teaching is, it is necessary to use two ways, namely the virtual way and the ritual way. The virtual way is a way to find out the definition of the word teaching that comes from or is obtained from the internet or online dictionaries that have been proven true and clear. For example, from oxforddictionaries.com, says teaching is impart knowledge to instruct someone as to how to do something. From collinsdictionary.com, teaching is the work that a teacher does in helping students to learn. And last, according to dictionary.com, teaching is the act of profession of a person who imparts knowledge or skill. From several definitions derived from the online dictionary, so I can conclude that teaching is a job done by a teacher by providing knowledge or skills to help students learn. The second way to get the definition of teaching is through the ritual way. The ritual way is a way of knowing the definition by making an observation of teaching activities that occur in a class repeatedly. Then, after that, describes the tasks and activities carried out by a teacher, and finally interprets the tasks and activities to explain the meaning of teaching. So, by using the virtual way, we can define teaching with three main stages, namely planning, implementation, and evaluation. So, planning, or what is also called pre-teaching, are things that a teacher must prepare before carrying out a teaching. These things include teaching materials is what will be taught to students, and teaching methods, how to teach teachings materials that have been determined. So to find out what kind of teaching materials will be taught to students, we must use a need analysis, while to find out how to teach what will be done, we must use a situation analysis. The second stage after planning is implementation, or also called while teaching. This stage is an activity or action taken by the teacher in providing knowledge or skills to students. The action is in the form of a teaching methodology, which includes starting, presenting, and ending lessons. And in the process, a teacher chooses a method that includes decisions about how to the teachers delivers lesson, how to encourage students to be active in classroom activities, and how to choose and use teaching instruments. Okay, after implementing, the last stage is evaluating or evaluation, or what is also called post-teaching. Is a stage where a teacher explains how students understand the material that has been taught and whether the goals that have been set at the beginning have been achieved or not. In other words, at this stage, a teacher will assess how effective the learning has been. So from some of the things I have explained earlier, we can conclude that teaching English is a process in which a teacher imparts knowledge, language skills that students have just learned through 3 stages, namely planning, implementing, and also evaluating. Yeah, we move to the last question in this topic. The question is, what is the relation between discourse analysis and English language teaching? So to understand this, there are 2 perspectives, namely the theoretical perspective and factual perspective. Yeah, based on a theoretical perspective, many English learners have correctly used speaking skills according to grammatical structures, but are still wrong when using natural speaking skills that are easy to understand. This is what is called pragmatic difficulty, or when speaking to other people, what is meant is not understood or makes the other person feel uncomfortable. From a situation like this, it will be concluded that how a student learns English and how his English teacher teaches him. From a factual perspective, in Indonesia, many students of English encounter the same problem as that in the theory. This happens because the students receive many inputs of English form but less in English functions. Teaching English through drilling the rules of grammar and memorizing vocabulary has been the teaching orientation of many English teachers in Indonesia. Now, what must be done to deal with this is to make language discourse important and must be studied well by students and teachers, because the form and function of language are interrelated with each other and should not be separated. So, how is language related to discourse? Yeah, I can say that the relationship between the two is inseparable from each other, because as we know, language is a tool used to communicate, while discourse is a tool to express what you want to communicate. I can even say that there will be no discourse if there is no language, and vice versa. Okay, I think that's all for the second topics about discourse analysis and English language teaching. Next, we move to the third topics, or the last topics. So this topic is talking about the scope of discourse analysis, and there are several questions. The first is, what is spoken discourse? Okay, the ideas concerning spoken discourse, according to theory, a language is verbally used by using speech in communication. It constitutes a series of conventional systems of sounds. Its actual representation is speaking. So, spoken discourse. Discourse that is conveyed orally through oral media to receive, understand, or enjoy, then the recipient must listen or listen to it. Spoken discourse is the delivery of discourse through oral or direct media. In other words, the representation of oral discourse is speaking. So it can be said that understanding speaking means understanding spoken discourse. Next, the second question. What are the differences between classroom and casual conversation? Okay, in casual conversations, people do not need to put their hands up if they want to speak. In classroom conversation, students are expected to do it if they want to say something. According to Barnes 19 and 71, teachers rarely ask questions to which they do not already know the answer. In real life, people normally ask questions to find out something they do not know. According to Delamon 19 and 76 states that in the classroom, teachers are expected to follow up a pupil's response with some kind of evaluation, like good girl, good boy, that's right. But outside the classroom, this type of follow-up would be quite out of place. According to Sachs et al. 19 and 74 confirms that in casual conversation, there exists quite a complicated machinery for ordering speaker turns sequentially in the classroom. It is usually the teacher who decides who will speak next and for how long. Okay, next, what is the reasons for analyzing the discourse? Okay, reasons for discourse analysis of classroom conversation. Yeah, so first is to show its typical characteristic in terms of structures, functions, and so forth, which have made it different from casual conversations. The second, to encourage the students to know and to use the characteristic when they are in the classroom settings and want to involve in conversation therein. Next, to see what goes on in the classroom and to evaluate the end products of our teaching and that of our students. Well, reason for of casual conversation, students will be able to recognize what type of communication, formal or informal, match the situation. Students will be able to identify types of utterance used by the native speakers under a certain condition, formal or informal. If they have to speak under a similar condition some other time, the students will be able to use the expressions because they have known how someone else speaker in that situation. Next question from these topics: how to analyze the discourse. So we must focus on the several things, namely sentence cohesion, turn taking, the relationship between sentences, speech moves, and speech acts. So there are three things when analyze the discourse. It's called ERF pattern. IRF pattern. I stands for initiation, someone initiates conversation. R stands for response, and F stands for feedback. For example, initiation. The teacher said, "Now then, I've got something here too. Hands up. What is that? What is it?" So the analysis. The teacher initiates the conversation by saying, "Now then," and ends the initiation by asking a question about something. What is that? This means that the initiation brings the function of asking. So the initiation functions as ask. Next, R or response. The student say, "So," okay, for analysis, a student then answer the question by saying "so." So the response functions as answer. Next is feedback. Back to the teacher says, "It's a so." Yes, this is a so. For analysis, the teacher acknowledges the answer by saying "it's a so" and comment on it by saying "yes, this is a so." So the feedback functions as comment. According to Sinclair and Coulthard, each unit is called an exchange, and each part in the exchange is called a move. Each exchange in the data consists of three moves, which function as a question for the first move, an answer for the second move, and a comment for the third move. Every exchange must have an initiation addressed by a speaker in the form of a statement, a question, or a comment, and it will be responded by the speaker's interlocutor in the form of words or actions. Each response from the interlocutor will be followed up by the speaker in the form of a confirmation or a gratitude. Next question for these topics. What things are found from the analysis? Okay, first is the discourse sequence, which has formed the dialogue. The second one, the function of each segment of the discourse sequence. Next, the last question for these topics. What are the implications of the analysis results to teaching and learning speech delivery in English language teaching? Okay, to be successful in social interactions, students should be taught not only how to master language form, but also know language function, because speakers in real social interaction frequently express their utterance which functions have nothing to do with their utterance. Conceptual meanings. And yet, one form may perform two or more functions and vice versa. Teaching the language function will help the students to function the language form, which they already learn in the classroom, effectively, socially, and naturally in real life conversations. When the students are good at language form but not at language function because they are never taught about it. They will easily encounter pragmatic difficulties, is difficulties regarding to understanding and using language function when trying to communicate in real situations. Yeah, the pragmatic difficulties potentially make the students unable to communicate language form socially, comprehensibility, naturally, or acceptability and effectively, or comprehensibility and acceptability for communication. Yeah, okay, I think that's all that I can explain about this the last topic. The topic is talking about the scope of discourse analysis. Yeah, so there are three topics that I have explained earlier, where each topic is further divided into several sections. Well, in studying a science or knowledge, we need to know the reason, the differences, the definitions, and the scope. And that's what I explained earlier about discourse analysis and its relation to English language teaching. So my recommendation for English teachers and learners is that we not only have to learn the form of the language but also its function. Yeah, okay, I think that's all that I can explain. I would like to say thank you to for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for giving me this opportunity to make the video, and also I would like to say thank you to my lecturer, Mr. Kaharudin, for giving me this task, for giving this assignment, mid project, make a video about discourse analysis, and also who supporting me to make this video, my mother and my father. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you for attention. If there are mistakes and shortcomings, I do apologize profusely. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.